What's up? I'm back. I want to talk more about Mean Girls. In this video, you're going to learn the first step in helping your daughter deal with Mean Girls and friendship drama. And if you have an adolescent girl from the age of 8 to 80, chances are you deal with this because, like we talked about in yesterday's video, mean girl behavior is actually normal development, right? It's part of their social development. Sometimes you're the mean girl, sometimes you're the object of that mean behavior. I want to clarify though that in these videos, like what I'm talking about, isn't necessarily bullying. I've mentioned this before. I think bullying has become kind of a catch-all word that we use a lot. And to me, a bully is someone, I kind of think of that kid on the playground swiping someone's lunch money and making threats and kind of poking in the chest, right? So that's, I think of more like physical aggressive behavior. Mean girl behavior is just maybe grouping up, excluding, maybe sharing a secret that wasn't supposed to be shared. Just typical behavior that's it's just not nice. So I want you to check out yesterday's video if that's going on, if you're dealing with it, or even if you're not, but anticipate that you have a middle schooler or a young woman in your life that might need some help with that. Maybe she's not the mean girl, but she hangs out with mean girls or girls that have tendencies to act mean toward others. And that video will help her and you understand. So today, in today's video, what I want to talk to you about, Mom, is how the very first step that you can take in when your daughter is dealing with mean girl behavior. So the first thing that is really important to do is to make sure that you do something that I call, it's a coaching tool called holding the space. And really, this is a tool that we can use for any relationship in our life. When we're talking with someone, whether it's a coworker, a spouse, a child, a friend, and they're going through something or they're dealing with something, it's really good to create a space for them in that place and take yourself out of it. A lot of times what we want to do is we want to jump in and be like, oh, that happened to me too. Or we get triggered by something, which can totally happen with young people in our lives who look a lot like us, look a lot like we did at that age. They sound like us. They have the same mannerisms. When they're dealing with something in middle school or high school, it can zap us right back to that time and place. We can sort of see ourselves dealing with something very similar. And if we have some unresolved stuff there, that tends to get triggered. And when that shows up in that space, where your daughter or your child or your friend or your coworker is just trying to have kind of their experience, then we get to use an analogy that my teacher taught me in coach training, kind of get in the pool with them. And when we're both flailing around in the pool and we can't we can't be a guide, we can't be a light, we can't serve in the way that we want to serve when we are in the pool with our child or with our friend or whoever's just going through it and needs a minute, right? So the first thing that I always ask moms when they tell me stories about their girls and what they're going through and they relay information is the first question I ask, which I think kind of takes people back, is, okay, why is this a problem for you? And of course, the first answer is, well, because I love her. I don't want to see her deal with this, or it's just mean and she doesn't deserve this, or, right? It's some form of, I want to protect her. I want to help her. And what I would like to offer is that, yes, it is hard to watch someone we love deal with a difficult situation. But when we remind ourselves that these situations are happening for our daughters and for the people we love to help them grow and evolve into the next best version of themselves, it's a little bit easier to be like, okay, I can take a step back because this is going to help her. She's going to learn something about herself in this process, and I don't want to get in the way of that. I want to love her and I can love on her, but I don't want to fix it for her. I don't want to necessarily get in the pool and agree with her. I was talking to a client the other day last week who was kind of going through something, and she said, I mean, don't you agree? Don't you agree? And I said to her, if I agree with you, then, and I agree that it's a problem, then we've just doubled down on the problem. I can agree, as your friend, I can agree with you, but you don't need a friend. You don't need someone to agree that this is wrong or that this is hurtful, right? We need to focus on a solution. We need to focus on processing through this and building your emotional skill of processing emotions and working through it versus just focusing on this person who's done a terrible thing to you and trying to get through to them somehow. It just doesn't work. It's not a good use of our time. Now, I agree. You need to surround yourself with friends who will be like, yeah, that's terrible. You're better than that, and support you in that way. But if you want to work through it, if you want to get through it and become a better version of yourself in the process, then surrounding yourself with people who agree with you all of the time and who kind of build up that drama isn't going to help you. Totally believe there's a place for it, but as your coach, I'm going to tell you that that's really not going to help you. We're not going to benefit from that, and neither will your daughter. So she doesn't really need you to agree with her. What she needs is a place to just talk it out and a place to really just sit in those feelings of disappointment and of hurt and sadness and whatever it is. And in tomorrow's video, we're going to talk about how to process through emotions. But for today, I just want to share that first step, which is you really have to ask yourself, okay, why is this a problem for me? And then honestly answer it. Take time to think through it. Like, well, this reminds me of when I went through this as a kid, or I wish I would have done things differently, or I wish I would have known this, and that's great. But remember, this is her journey. This is her experience. She needs to have this. And if you feel like you're jumping in that pool with her, then I just want you to take a step back and think, okay, how can I best help her? And really, 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 I promise you, there's only one key step, and that is just to listen. Just let her talk. And, one of the things that I like to do is I've seen people post about, and I've been there too, right? Our kids can sort of go down what I call the rabbit hole. They can kind of start telling a story and get off on tangents or add details. And so can my clients, frankly. What I like to do is, okay, here's 2 minutes or 1 minute, 1 minute or 2 minutes. Tell me what's going on, and set a timer, like maybe on your phone or just in your mind. And after those 2 minutes are up, be like, okay, now I'm guessing you feel blank, right? I'm guessing that this hurt your feelings, or this made you sad, or I'm guessing you're feeling anxious about this. And then ask her, am I right? And what will happen is you will have connected with her. She'll feel like she was really heard and understood, or she gets to correct you and be like, no, I wasn't hurt. I was more embarrassed. Or, really try and get that feeling, because when we talk tomorrow in tomorrow's video about processing feelings, we're going to need to know what the feeling is to process. And so this first step really allows you to connect in a way where you're not trying to take her out of her pain. You're not trying to minimize it or dismiss it. You're not trying to fix it. You're just trying to allow her to have that moment to put words to it. And sometimes, actually all the time, that's really all we ever need, is someone just to listen. So if you've got a middle school girl or a high school girl or just some drama in the house, or you're feeling like you're going through something, find someone that you can just say, I just need a minute to get this off my chest. And hopefully they'll be that person to say, I hear you. Me too. I've felt like that before too. And that's your first step, because through that connection then is how we're going to get to the second step and eventually get through this process. And I hope that helps. All right, guys, until next time, toodles.